Well, I just wanted to touch on the cops because you were a skateboarder too. Now, I mean, you know, we can talk about what places you skated in. I just want to give a personal little anecdote today. I went out on my skateboard this morning, and I rode past a cop car and practiced my no complies. And where I come from, the cops were very, very aggressive with us when we were kids. I remember a 14-year-old friend of mine getting his arm broken by a cop twisting it behind his back. So, it's I'm so happy that these days the society has accepted skateboarding, and it's not you can do it on you can do it on Fox TV. That's how accepted it is now. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But
Well, back then
yeah.
it was really, in the 80s, of course, we were constantly hassled by the police. My friends were choked by them just for, being on the street, let alone getting a call on private property like a parking lot at the grocery store. But there was a constant friction with the police and skateboarding. That's back in those days. They had those big that's when the sticker, "The skateboarding is not a crime," came out. It was just like kids all over the country were getting arrested for it. It's so weird to think that this national, suburban pastime now was at once, some weird counterculture. The way we dressed, talked, listened to different music, the whole thing was a very alternative scene. And it was directly at odds with the police and neighborhood associations or whatever. I didn't live in that kind of town, but I know that other people do. But it was definitely a strange reality. But the thing about skateboarding for me, I used to skate at the Brooklyn Banks in New York under the Brooklyn Bridge. There was this awesome,
famous spot.
yeah, that was great.
It's one of the most famous skate spots in videos.
Oh yeah. So we were there, and all down the lower New York was great in a lot of places to skate. A lot of good weird railings that were around in the various in fronts of office buildings and stuff. And of course, the hangout was Soho Skates, which was there and gone. I don't, it wasn't there for long, but that was like the Mecca, and that was an amazing place. But skateboarding was my martial art. It was the things that we used to do physically. I look at it now, pictures of us and little videotapes, which I'm having a harder time watching at this point. We don't even have the device. I have to put it on a camera, and we'll use all kinds of equipment. But the things we used to do back then were so extraordinary physically. I'm really surprised by it, in general. And the reflexes and balance and strength and grace that is embodied by skateboarding is really amazing to me. And I want to do it. I want to do it again. But
hey, look, man, when we get together after when it's possible to get together, we'll go on a little skate. I'm not promising anything special, but neither are you. So
no.
But I did want to. I'm going to get off the skateboarding topic in just a sec, but I think it's really interesting to know that when you skateboarded, it was actually a really transitional era, because it was the time, I think, when I'm not even going to touch on Bert, but when Rodney Mullen had started to make up all those crazy tricks, and then people started applying them to street skateboarding. So you guys would have been right at the start there, around when people started to skate rails and steps, right?
No, that I remember when the advent of those styles. So when we started, it was maybe the late 70s with those banana boards, those plastic, very small, very soft, very long wheels that were sort of hollow and conical on the inside. So they sort of flexed oddly and everything like that. And then I remember when I got my first bigger wooden board. It was a Jeff Phillips by Sims, and I don't even know how I remember that. That was 1984 or 5, something like that. And at that time, I remember some kid moved to my town from somewhere else and said, "Do you guys know how to ollie?" And none of us even had heard that word. You know what I mean? It was 70s dudes going on, just like carving stuff. You know what I mean? that was our archetype, was these long-haired dudes carving concrete. And then the ollie came, and then the launch ramp, and then half pipes were built, and then railings were discovered, and irrigation ditches were on film. So we started looking in urban environments for things like that, just concrete slanted things in natural environments. And I remember Rodney Mullen, you know, he had that little board that was double-ended, because boards weren't back then. They had a nose and a tail. They didn't have that symmetrical shape. Mine is right there.
Is it possible for you to grab and show us?
Yeah, but this one is cool. This is my special one for my office.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That is so cool. Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah, this one is the anatomy. So yeah, that I remember back then what Rodney was doing, we all called freestyle. It wasn't incorporated into the repertoire. I mean, skateboarding was divided into vert, street, and freestyle. So there would be launch ramps and things like that. Then Rodney would do his demonstrations, because I skated a few times with the Bones Brigade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy.
But it was always like, you know, very compartmentalized, you know what I mean? And Tony did his thing, and Caballero did his thing. I just remember Steve Caballero had that deformity or whatever, that his neck was tilted. And we all skated like him because we thought it was part of the way he skated. So we literally imitated his messed up neck because it looked cool. And you know what I mean? And Mike Vallely had that shaved head back then. And I was like, I'm doing that. You know, these guys were major heroes. But anyway, so I remember I had stopped skating for a little while when I went to college. And in that transitional time, Rodney Mullen's style deck became the only deck you can buy anymore, or at least the ubiquitous style. And I remembered the whole style had changed. It was like this weird mix of freestyle and street at the same time. It was so cool, but I was already out of the loop at that time in the 90s.